Welcome to the Innovation and Compliance Podcast, part of the Compliance Podcast Network. Join us every week as we talk with industry innovators who are making compliance to help business run more efficiently and at the end of the day, more profitably. Here's your host, Tom Fox.
Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, back for another episode. And today I have with me Brian Beeghly. Brian is the founder of Informed 360. It's one of the most innovative companies I have come across recently. And so I asked Brian if he could take some time to talk about not only his company, but what I think is his unique background in the compliance space, which I think led him to found this company and have some of the insights he's had to create the tools and solutions of Informed 360. So Brian, with that somewhat long-winded introduction, first of all, welcome and thank you for taking the time to visit with me today.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
So Brian, you're not a lawyer and you bring a non-lawyer perspective. You brought it to the compliance chair and now you bring it to Informed 360. And I think it would be really interesting to have you just kind of go through your professional background, how you got to your most recent job as a CCO and what led you to Informed 360.
Sure, Tom, I'd be happy to. So the majority of my background and professional experience is in the risk management and insurance area. So running large property casualty, health and safety, business continuity, and crisis management programs. I did that at my previous employer, Johnson Controls, and before that I was at Nike for about 12 years. So I've always been in the risk management area, helping large global companies manage their risk and risk portfolio. And about 3 years into my tenure at Johnson Controls, the CEO at the time, Steve Roll, approached me and asked me if I'd be willing to take on the VP of compliance role, so overseeing not just risk management and insurance program, but also the ethics and compliance program. And I was already familiar with the program and the folks who were on the team because of my role on the executive compliance committee. I felt really good about where we were at as a company as well as the program. So I accepted the role. And as you mentioned, I'm a non-lawyer. I'm one of those rare birds in the ethics compliance world that is not a lawyer. But I think it was my background in running large, complex programs that really interested the board of directors as well as the C-suite in terms of my capabilities. However, when I jumped into the role, as I expected, the team was great. We had all the right elements of an effective ethics and compliance program, based upon the federal sentencing guidelines, as you would expect. But when you looked under the hood of how we actually ran the program day to day, especially from a technology standpoint, it was all duct tape and glue. So otherwise, manual processes, lots of Excel spreadsheets all over the place, and disparate systems and applications that just weren't connected. So trying to pull data and information together, while we ultimately got there with the board of directors and the leadership of the company, it was an extremely painful process, a waste of very limited resources, as I'm sure you can appreciate. We just didn't have good visibility into the data. And that's ultimately what spurred me to co-found Informed 360 with my partner, Andrew Neblett. We just took a look at where technology was for ethics and compliance and felt that there was a better way to do it.
So Brian, you have, I would say, gone through the wars as a chief compliance officer. You certainly worked, perhaps that first statement was a little too harsh, but you've certainly worked in organizations where compliance was under scrutiny and you had to do it right, do it quickly and efficiently. And I guess that experience plus your non-lawyer hat really have intrigued me about why you guys founded Informed 360 and what you bring to the marketplace today. So with that, if I could use that, is what do you see as the role of tech in moving compliance forward?
Sure. So as I mentioned, really Informed 360 grew out of my frustrations as a chief compliance officer. Again, managing the day-to-day aspects of the compliance program, everything from risk assessments to disclosures to critically important, the continuous improvement of the program. And like I mentioned, it was all being tracked on Excel spreadsheets. And so what we've done at Informed 360, instead of just trying to build one specific compliance activity and then build on top of that, we actually took a step back and we said, how do companies actually manage their ethics compliance program? And obviously, when you look at that, there's a couple of different standards in which you can use. You can use federal sentencing guidelines. You can use the ISO standards, the Defense Industry Initiative. If you're in healthcare or pharma, you use the OIG standards. But all of those kind of map back to these big bodies of activity that are fairly common and consistent. And so with Inform 360, we actually use that as the underlying foundation of the platform. In fact, it's actually embedded within the navigation of the tool itself. And in addition to that, what we do is we actually are able to code a company's compliance program elements into the program. We can either take those federal sentencing guidelines or the ISO standards, or what I typically find is companies will typically have a kind of a customized version of the federal sentencing guidelines that's specific to their business and their industry. And so we actually hard code that into the platform. So not only are we tracking data by risk, but we're also doing it by what we call program elements. So companies can really track continuous improvement of the program and see how their program is maturing and progressing over time. So it's that background in risk management and kind of that process of continuous improvement that's really at the heart of Inform 360 as a platform. It's more than just a couple of tools, a tool to do disclosures and a tool to do risk assessments. There's underlying methodology, and it's interconnected so that the compliance team can get really a comprehensive view of their overall program and kind of where the pain points are, where the risks are, and where they need to be focusing their efforts and activities.
Brian, you said a couple of very interesting things in there. In April, Assistant or Deputy Attorney General Brian Benskowski announced a new FCPA guidance entitled The Evaluation of Corporate Compliance Programs 2019 Guidance. And I've had a chance to really take a deep dive into that document. And there's a couple of themes in that document that you just hit on. One was really continuous improvement, and not continuous improvement as a standalone prong that you do sort of once a year or perhaps even multiple times a year, but literally that continuous improvement and in all facets of your compliance program, from your risk assessment to your investigations, to your incentives, training and communications, third parties, the entire way. And it struck me that what you were describing is a way to implement that precise requirement of continuous improvement really throughout the length and breadth and entire scope of your compliance program. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's a totally fair assessment. At the core of Inform 360 is what we call our action plan module, and it's really a project management tool. And there's links within the tool itself directly from our risk assessment tool. Because, once you've done a risk assessment, that's great, you've done a risk assessment, but if you don't do anything about the risks, you've created a nice little liability for the company. So there's a direct link into our action planning tool because you need to do something with those risks. Same thing with disclosures. If you're waiving somebody's conflict of interest, there's typically controls that need to be put in place, and our action planning tool can track that. The other frustration I had, Tom, in my compliance officer days was I had all of these compliance-related documents scattered all over the universe, really. Everything from internal audits, external audits, program assessments, culture surveys, documents that were tracking, regulatory changes. And so what we've done with Inform 360 is we've built a tool that allows you to import those documents into Inform 360. And guess what all those documents come with? They come with requirements and recommendations for improvements. Or think about it in terms of settlement agreements, right? Deferred prosecution agreements, non-prosecution agreements, cease and desist orders. They all come with recommendations and in some cases requirements for improving your program. But traditionally, most companies will track those implementations using Excel spreadsheets or Word documents or PowerPoint presentations. And there's virtually no collaboration within those tools. And so what Inform 360 does is not only allow you to bring those documents into the system and the database itself, tag them by risk, tag them by program element, tag them by ownership, but then you can wrap action plans around them. So you can sequentially order your activities within the action planning tool itself, assign ownership, assign accountability, assign due dates, assign target start dates and end dates. And the tool also has collaboration built into it. So you can collaborate and talk about those objectives and those initiatives within the tool itself. You don't have to go outside of the system in order to communicate and then come back in and type up your notes. You can do that all within Inform 360. So again, it really goes back to my frustrations as a compliance officer where significant number of the people on the team were lawyers. Obviously, we had other non-lawyers on the team as well. And we were just spending so much time manually manipulating data so much time trying to catch up on who was doing what, where, and when. And again, that really was the impetus for creating Inform 360, was to build a better tool that really drives that collaboration and continuous improvement. Because, there really is no finish line here, right? It's something that we constantly tweak and adjust. We respond to the risks that are facing us as an organization, and we constantly improve the program. And our tools allow you to do that.
Ryan, you said something in there also in those remarks that I thought was incredibly prescient, yet perhaps one of the most basic tools of the corporation. And that was project management, that you viewed this largely as project management. And then you went on to explain in detail many of the steps. I don't want to demean this by saying standard steps, but basic steps of project management. That sort of way to think through a problem is revolutionary for lawyers. And we are just not trained like that. But yet, I think you've distilled down to a very basic level an innovative technique that is used in the corporations for everything, for every other corporate function, perhaps except legal and compliance. And so I really see that approach as one of the things that makes Inform 360 so innovative.
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly right. I'm a big fan of project management tools. I'm also a big fan of lean methodologies. And I think you are starting to see some of that being imported into the legal function and being imported into ethics compliance programs and departments. I know I did it at my previous employer, where we actually ran the compliance organization through lean training. Because again, lean is all about problem solving, and it's all about continuous improvement. And we've taken some of those learnings and we've actually built that into the Inform 360 platform, so that you're getting a lot of that methodology, you're getting a lot of that project management capability within the tool itself. And so, as I tell people, it's more than just a software tool. It's not just, oh, here's our disclosure tool, we hope you'll use it. We actually want to drive more than just providing a software solution, but providing a collaboration tool, and a tool that allows you to see measurable progress as you continue to improve your program.
Ryan, if I could change the focus just a little bit, you guys recently announced a strategic partnership with Red Flag Reporting. I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about that, what Red Flag is going to bring to this partnership and Inform 360, and where you guys hope to take this going forward.
Sure, Tom. We're very excited about our partnership with Red Flag Reporting. Maybe just take a step back. So I'm not a believer that a single system is going to be able to do everything. I think when you try and do everything, you end up pleasing nobody. And so we've taken a hard look at the different aspects of a compliance program to determine kind of where are those places and where are those activities that we feel it's, instead of us building out that functionality within the platform itself, it's actually better to partner with somebody who's a leader in their industry. And in the case of whistleblower hotlines, that's exactly where we see Red Flag Reporting. And so what we'll be able to do with our customers is to offer them a whistleblower hotline alternative in the marketplace. However, what we'll also be able to do is seamlessly integrate that whistleblower hotline data with the data that's being generated within Inform 360. So if you're using our disclosures, our risk assessments, our action plans, we can then start to align that data. We can look for correlations between those data sets, and then we can also look at it with other types of third-party data integrations. So we have the ability not just to look at data that's being driven within the platform itself, but one of the unique features of Inform 360 is to bring in compliance-related data from other systems, whether it's an LMS, policy management system, an enterprise risk management system. We really can bring that data in and align it not just by risk, but also align it by program element, and then ultimately throw that data back up on the dashboard so that we're really giving the ethics compliance team a more robust and a more comprehensive view of their ethics and compliance program. So our goal here is really to provide our customers with the best of both worlds in terms of leading edge services, in this case, whistleblower hotline, but also the ability to bring that data within Inform 360.
Ryan, unfortunately, we are near the end of our time, but I wondered if our listeners wanted any additional information, how could they find out more about Inform 360 or yourself?
Well, sure. They can obviously go out to www.inform360.com to see information related to Inform 360. And as always, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect. I'd be happy to make that connection.
And I would also suggest all of our listeners take a look at their website. They've got some very interesting resources that I think will help you in taking a look at technology and technological solutions, the role of technology, and really taking a deep dive into the importance and now renewed importance on risk assessments. Brian, this has been a fascinating visit, and I greatly look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate the time.
If you're a compliance professional looking for a convenient and effective way to fulfill your continuing education requirements, go to fcpacompliancereport.com/courses and choose from 4 hour-long training packages that will keep you current. That's fcpacompliancereport.com/courses.